Mr. Christopher Kolade will be coming up. Thank you, sir. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming in on the platform. We want to, like you told me, you spent 87 years in Nigeria. You must know something about the place where you have lived in for 87 years. So we want to tap into the wisdom. We want to tap into the wisdom of 87 years in this country. Now, in the history of corporate Nigeria, you are one of the icons of sound corporate governance. Why is corporate governance so important? And why do most Nigerian companies struggle with corporate governance practices?
Well, once again, let me say thank you for featuring me on the platform today. I have always watched the platform in private status, but you know that I've always monitored what goes on the platform. Now, corporate governance is a system that we believe in, and in that system we have defined many things. We've defined responsibility, we've defined accountability, we've defined even stakeholders, the people for the benefit of whom corporate governance has been set up. The one thing that we keep forgetting is that any system we set up always depends on the people who are going to operate it. The system itself may be very sound and it may look very good, but if you put the wrong people in it, if you put people who do not have the capacity, the interest, or the mental equipment to deal with corporate governance, then it will not work. Why is it so important? Because in any joint endeavor, like a business company, like a government, like a country, every single one of us whose interest is affected becomes a stakeholder. As a stakeholder, you are required to put in something. Either you put in your investment in terms of money, or you put your investment in kind. Something you contribute, and you do that because you expect something in return. And as a stakeholder who has made an input, you have a right to receive something in return. But some people have to be in the, what I call the engine room of this, who are going to put A and B and C together and produce certain results that we desire to see. Now, those people who are operating it must have a sense of the fact that they're only operating this on behalf of the stakeholders. The reason why corporate governance is so important is that if it goes well, if it is well operated, the stakeholders who have the right to expect returns actually get the returns. However, if those who are in the engine room of corporate governance become self-focused, if they work only for their own self-interest or narrow interests, then the general body of stakeholders loses out and then begin to see that the system we have set up is not working for us. So the importance of corporate governance is that it is there to make sure that all of us as stakeholders get what we should receive from the input that we have made. And until we get that, it will continue to trouble us, and we can't run corporate governance properly.
All right, sir. Let me leave my questions I wrote down. Let me just ask this from the heart. Nigeria, we're 60 years old, Nigeria today, In 1960, we started out, Nigeria recorded some of the, in Africa, first in Africa, television, many things. We had one of the best teaching hospitals in the Commonwealth, and many things are going on in the 60s, 70s. Now, you will agree with me that, I'm sure, that the potential that Nigeria showed at the onset and where we are today, this is not what people, I'm sure, in the 60s and 70s projected. I remember growing up, and when they want to take electric power, they will announce on the radio that electric power is not going to be available from these hours to these hours. So people had expectation. What will you think? What do you think is responsible? Where did we derail? What really happened? Where did we go off course? And the wheels go off in this country?
Well, let me share with you some experience that I had when I was a toddler. I lived in a village where if people wanted to set up a dispensary somewhere where they could go and get medication, or wanted to set up a postal agency, not even a full post office, what happened was that the people of the village, the people of the community, agreed that they needed this thing. Then the Oba or somebody allocated a piece of land. The men in the community would go there and clear the forests, remove the trees and so on, and start the building. This was collaborative effort in the interest of something that we all wanted. And while the men were working, the women would cook some food, and at a certain point they would come and give the men some refreshment. But in the end, the postal agency will be built, or the dispensary will be built. And that dispensary was owned by everybody. Everybody recognized their stake in that dispensary or that postal agency. And therefore, if anyone in the community tried to vandalize something or tried to do something negative to this thing that we had all collectively built, it was collective effort to take control of the situation and make sure that the negative person did not succeed. Now, fast forward to where we are today, and you discover that the reason why so much negativity attends our public space is that the stake that each individual has in this endeavor called Nigeria is no longer sensitively appropriated by the individual. Now, because, of course, not all of us cannot go to National Assembly somewhere, so we pick people to go there to represent us. Do you know we actually call them representatives? We send them there as representatives. And when they get there, what do they do? Who do they represent? Because if you represent somebody, you take care, first of all, to find out what the person really wants. Then you go there and represent, and you have the obligation to come back and give an account of what you have done with the opportunity to be a representative. Now, this is the truth that we all know. But what do we actually practice? We practice something that makes the representative something that he believes is now his own. He goes there, he works for himself or herself, works according to something that he believes or does not believe, and in the end does not even feel accountable to the stakeholders whom he is supposed to be representing. Now, that is what politics has done to us. And the reason why politics is now so dangerous for everyone is that the interests that politicians have no longer has anything to do with the people they're trying to represent. People now hire thugs to make sure that they win elections. Why? If it is really an opportunity to serve my people, why do I want to kill anybody else who wants to do the same? Why do I want to do it in such a manner that the stakeholders don't even get anything to say about this? And therefore, the way that we continue to run things is the situation that we have. Sorry, my system seems to be acting up here, but I hope you can still hear me.
We can see you, we can hear you.
Thank you. And so my belief is that if your question is, how did we go wrong? How did we arrive where we are? We arrived where we are because the practice of party politics takes the focus away from the objective of party politics. The objective of politics is that we should select people who will now go and do good governance. But the emphasis is so much on the politics, we forget the governance. And the politicians believe that politics can even be a life career. It can be a life career where you make all the money and so on and so forth. And these days, you ask yourself, why is it so difficult for us to hold elections which are peaceful? I'm not even talking about free and fair. Peaceful elections where people can go in and vote and come back. No thugs carrying their ballot boxes, nobody firing guns, and so on. It's because we allowed ourselves to put politics ahead of governance. Let me say one more thing. Let's not think that all the blame belongs to the people in public office, people elected. We also, as stakeholders, have a lot of blame to share in this. And I put the idea forward that everybody who's living today comes from a past where certain values, certain disciplines, certain standards were taught to us. We were told this is the right way to do things. You must not enter somebody else's property without permission. You must not inflict pain on anyone for no reason. This was how we were brought up. Now, what values, what standards, what disciplines are we practicing today? And what are the young people taking away, inheriting? Everything that we have been taught, we must see ourselves as custodians of what we have received. And if you're a custodian, there are two things you must do. You must preserve the quality of what you have received. You must make sure that the quality does not deteriorate. But second, you must develop what you have received, develop in the light of the needs of the present and the future. So the quality will improve if you preserve what you received and then develop it according to what the needs of the future are. But in order to do that, the custodian must acknowledge, recognize his responsibility, his accountability, but also the obligation to go through a development process of development. We put education in place to help people to develop. But look at what we're doing with education, and you will know why one of the reasons why we're not going forward positively.
Thank you very much, sir, for spending this 20 minutes with us. We deeply appreciate this, and we thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll move next to his